Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or wherever you are in the world. Well, I'm here. For me, it's oh my gosh, 3:41 a.m. Well, I am up because I write and whatnot. But I'm here to share with you. Um, I'm going to continue on with literary devices. And the one I'm going to talk to you about now is called Protagonist. Pro means for, protagonist. So that's the main character in every work of literature. The protagonist is the main person. You could be a protagonist in your own life. Okay, guys? So it's not complicated. So let's say you're writing, well, as I mentioned to you yesterday, or is it the day before? Because since it's in the morning, I don't know how to term. Well, anyway, the day before, which was, anyway, I'll leave it alone for now. So, based on the new type of writing that is done in the English regions, you can always tell your students now that they can still they still have to use the literary devices in one of the writing material they have to do for the English regions. So it's all good that I'm teaching you these terms. And you could talk these terms when you meet up with your family for Thanksgiving. You could turn it into a fun game. I mean, seriously, I used to do games with my students, honestly. I used to make up games to help to get them to learn. I used to, because I'm a creative person, all right? But anyway, maybe one day I'll make up a game and whatnot with you guys and have some fun that way. My painting in the back looks kind of crooked, and I'm trying to get it to look even at the bottom, but it's not. So I'm not going to strain my brain over it. It just looks like what it is right now. But anyway, so yeah, easy breezy lesson. Protagonist is the main character. So the student is writing the new type of paragraph that have to be written. I made a copy of it. Let me look through these pages here. It's not a critical lens anymore. It's called a text analysis response, which I mentioned to you yesterday. Closely read the text provided on page 21 and 22 and write a well-developed text-based response of 2 to 3 paragraphs. In your response, identify a central idea in the text and analyze how the author's use of one writing strategy, literary device, develops this central idea. So, since I'm talking to you about protagonists, well, whatever the central idea is, let's say the central idea is it's not good to lie because the truth always comes out. All right. I just came up with that, by the way. So it's not good to lie. The truth always comes out. So let's say now you're writing 3 paragraphs concerning this. It's going to be based on whatever the literature is that they have given you to read on page 21 and page 22. They're usually consistent with the pages. So until they change it to another type of a writing scenario, usually it will always be this particular paragraph scenario will always be on pages 21 and 22 because that's how they are. They're very organized that way. So let's say it's not good to lie because the truth always comes out. The Your student could say, well, the protagonist in such and such literature on page 21 and 22 has proven that telling a lie doesn't, well, telling a lie only means that it will be exposed at some later point in time. And then your student will have to look for evidence to support whatever that central idea is. So the student will have to say the protagonist has proven this when he or she does A, B, C, and D, whatever A, B, and C does. You see what I'm saying? You see how simple it is, guys? So in the first paragraph, it's not even complicated. You'll just start off saying like whatever the main idea is in the this passage that the student your student is reading, they'll basically say, well, in this passage, the author's talking about lies and how it could impact people's lives. And then you just write little short hook pertaining to the main idea of the article or whatever. And then your student will say, well, the central idea of this piece is when you lie, you'll always be found out, right? That would be the central idea. So the first part of that paragraph, the first thing you would talk about is, you'll just give a like a hook or a brief summary of some sort, about your opinion, or there are different ways to go about it. All right. So my suggestion is you just give a little like maybe a one line summary of what the article or whatever it is about. And and then you'll say, well, the main idea, the central idea is lying or lies will always be found out. And then you could say the literary device which supports this central idea is the protagonist. You kind of follow what I'm saying. So you'd have something like that in your first paragraph. Of course, you could write more than one sentence and before you write the central idea. But what some people do, and look, it's better to give a little background information before you write your central idea. But other people have different, how can I put it? Different accept other teachers then. They would be okay with, I guess, you just saying the central idea is. There's nothing wrong with that technically. But quite frankly, in my personal opinion, it's okay to just give a like a hook, some sort of like something that grabs the reader's attention, you know what I'm saying? Or you could write in the form of a little story about, oh, when people lie, this is what happens, you know what I mean? And then you come up with the central idea. The central idea is liars always get caught. And then the author of this article uses the protagonist to prove the central idea or to prove that point. And then in the second paragraph, you will discuss what the protagonist has done, what the protagonist did, and all these different things, the lies that the protagonist told and whatnot and whatnot. And then you can expose how it all came to a big, how it became exposed and things of that nature. You see what I'm saying, guys? So they said, what they said, two paragraphs. Like, oh my God, that's not much at all. But once you have the 2 to 3, literally, I think that yeah, 2 to 3 paragraphs. So really, yeah, that's what they say. 2 to 3. That is really nothing. Your student should be able to get full points for this particular section, which is uh the third part of the exam, the third part of the English Regents text analysis response. So it's really, really quite simple. Just identify the literary device, write your central idea, whatever it is the article is about, and then identify the literary device that you will be discussing and give examples of, the literary device. You could use the protagonist and then show the examples that what the protagonist did to exemplify the central idea. And if you want to use motif, remember motif is a recurring theme, idea, phrase, or whatever, something that occurs over and over again. So if you want to say, oh, in this article, the central idea is liars always get caught, or whatever, or the truth always comes out in the end. And then you want to identify the literary device, you'll say, well, in this article, motif is a prevalent literary device that the author of this article uses to express the central idea. And then in the following paragraph, you go into what these motifs are. You understand? I'm saying all the different things that were repeated in the article that shows whatever support for the central idea. Does that make sense? Well, thank you for understanding. I appreciate it. So it's really not complicated. And remember, protagonist is the main character of a work of literature. Now, you could be the protagonist in your own life, you know what I mean? Because you're the main character in your life, right, guys? And when you listen to music and all these different things, you look at movies, there are protagonists in the movie and there are also antagonists. All right, but tonight, I'm just this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are, today I'm just focusing on the protagonist. So every song, there's a protagonist basically because the song is about someone or something, right? And a protagonist doesn't even have to be a human. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be an animal. It could be different things, all right? But the main character, the definition of a protagonist is the main character. So a main character could be a dog, a cat, a rat, some roaches, and whatnot. All right. So I think you got the point, and I'm so happy that you understand what I'm talking about. So you are good students. I give all of you a A plus plus. All right. So I'm just sharing some real life stuff with you that can really, really help you. And you know, if only a lot of people would understand that knowing these things really, it may seem, I don't know, boring to you. I don't know. I find it exciting. So maybe I'm strange that way. I'm unusual that way, but I find it exciting. Remember what I told you, I love learning. Learning is a beautiful thing. If I had enough time, I would be in school right now. All right. And I've told you this on more than one occasion. I actually graduated with extra credits. When my first degree as a bachelor's, I graduated with, I believe, I have to look it up to be sure, but I think it's like 28 to 30 more credits that I actually needed to graduate with my bachelor's. Now, you ask yourself, who does that? This person here does that because learning is a beautiful thing. And I learn something new every single day because learning is beautiful. And by the way, I got my nails done. Okay. Yeah, it's like very interesting. I thought I'd mention it because I think since you're seeing it. But anyway, learning is a beautiful thing and you can never, never know too much. And it doesn't matter how old you are, there's always something new to learn. And you can learn from someone at any age. Because look, even though I'm older, I learn from people younger than myself. I learn from teenagers. You understand what I'm saying? Because no one is too old to learn something. Because the word, as long as you live, there's something new to learn. Okay? And no one has ever told me, where flies come from, by the way. I'm still looking for that answer because as far as I could see, they just pop up, they just appear out of nowhere. So I just find that quite interesting. And let me share an interesting experience I had. And I thank God because, like yesterday or whatever, I don't even know how to call it because I did my live before midnight. So technically, it was the day before yesterday. But anyway, I'm going to leave that alone. So I'll just call it yesterday just to keep it simple. But what happened was when I got home, well, after I parked my vehicle far away from where I live, because parking is so problematic, I parked my vehicle and I had my headset on my head, and I'm like, oh my God. I was so tired and it was so cold because I wasn't dressed warm enough because I was freezing. And I, after I walked for a minute there or for a little while, I realized my headset was not on my head because I was so beat and I was freezing. And I said to myself, I know it probably fell off in my vehicle, right? And I'm like, I am not going back to my vehicle for this headset. I'm going to just leave it right there on the car seat. So, because I refused to walk back because I was freezing. And I know some of you who, like some of you may have been so tired you didn't even feel like going back. Like, let's say you left something behind in your car, vehicle, you didn't feel like going back to get it because you were so beat. And well, I was beat and cold. And I'm like, I am not going back. It's just gonna have to stay on the car seat and all of that. So so I got home and I'm like, whatever, I did whatever. And then today, well, yesterday, when I went back to my car, my vehicle, and I noticed my headset was on the ground. It was not even in my car. But I kind of, in my mind, on my way home yesterday, even though I thought it was on the seat, I did think perhaps I dropped it on on the ground as well, and it was on the ground. But it was just a fleeting thought because I really mostly thought it was in my vehicle. But as it turned out, it was on the ground. But even though that fleeting thought was in my mind, I refused to go back there to to look for my headset. Because headsets can be very expensive, but I was just too cold and too beat. But when I got to my vehicle, right, it was on the ground right next to my car there, and I was so amazed. And I'm like, this has to be God, right? 'Cause it was right there on the ground. No car rolled over it. No one stole it. Because people take things that they see, and it's a good headset. It's a good headset, okay? And it was just there on the ground. And I'm like, and I picked it up and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my, and it was still in good condition. It wasn't crushed by cars. It wasn't like trampled on. It wasn't taken. I was so happy. And I said, well, God did this because I give God, credit for a lot of things that happened in my life. And I'm like, only God could have done this because by all rights, someone could have seen it and picked it up and it would have been like gone. But I was so blessed it was still there. So that's that story. But anyway, guys, um, I'm trying to get better to remind you to visit my website, www.jkfstyles.com. And I have some beautiful merch there. You could purchase for your family and friends and yourself, and they would make great holiday gifts. And also in the I put the link of the my play on Eventbrite. So if you like, you can copy and paste the link on your web browser and purchase tickets for my play Destiny in the Ground. Because I placed the links on my description there, and it's on 3 separate days: Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it'll be nice, to see you there. And when you do show up, let me know that you're from my YouTube channel. I'll be so happy to meet you. And I thank you for listening. And I pray that your day is beautiful and you have a wonderful and blessed day. And may God be with you and protect you and keep you safe all week, as a matter of fact. Okay? All right. See you when I see you.